Hey, make sure you don't freeze up during this review.
What are you talking about? I never freeze. Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. It's finally here, the first Marvel movie of 2018, Black motherfucking Panther. What I like, what I dislike, how does it fit into the greater Marvel universe? Let's talk about it. So I didn't have a chance to do this during my Civil War review, so let's do it now. Let's find out a little bit more about the comic book character of Black Panther. And to do that, here's my close personal friend, the Comic Snob.
Oh yes, Black Panther. He's a fantastic character. See, he was first introduced in Fantastic Four number 52 in July of 1966 and was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, which makes him the first black Marvel superhero, as you say. And unlike popular belief, he is actually named after a pulp hero and not the Black Panthers of the 60s. Now, T'Challa, as he's known, doesn't have a standard origin because Black Panther is the mantle of the leader of the fictional hidden city of Wakanda in Africa. You see, T'Challa, he gains his powers from the heart-shaped herb that gives him enhanced strength, speed, durability, and agility, as well as a minor healing factor. By himself, T'Challa is a master tracker, scientist, and very skilled at hand-to-hand combat. He also wears a high-tech suit made from a vibranium weave, which we all of course know vibranium is what makes Captain America's shield so American. And for a little fact, Black Panther was married to Storm from the X-Men for a little bit. Yes, he was also part of the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, the Defenders, Fantastic Force, the Illuminati, and the Ultimates. He is a fantastic hero, yes. And now you know a little bit about T'Challa, the Black Panther.
Thank you, Snob. So Black Panther is brought to us by director Ryan Coogler, who did Creed, which is a fantastic movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. And the plot is, basically, this takes place right after the events of Civil War. Like, he's literally on a plane coming home from Civil War. So basically that means this movie and Spider-Man Homecoming are going on simultaneously. It's kind of cool. Due to the death of T'Challa's father, T'Chaka, T'Challa now has to claim the throne of Wakanda and, start ruling over the hidden nation. Also going on, Ulysses Klaue, who was introduced to us during Avengers Age of Ultron, has reared his head and is an enemy of Wakanda because he stole vibranium and killed many people when he did do that. So that forces Black Panther to go try and apprehend the Ulysses Klaue, and turns out Ulysses Klaue has teamed up with Eric Killmonger, and it begins a very interesting development in Wakandan history. I don't want to go into too many details, so that's the basic overview of Black Panther. So let's talk about the characters. So first we have Chadwick Boseman reprising his role as the titular Black Panther, or T'Challa is his alter ego. So this is just a further development of what we were given in Civil War. You learn he's, wants to be a hero, but, wears a heavy crown. He takes a lot of responsibility on himself to protect Wakanda, protect his family, and to use his powers responsibly. And so that's very interesting, and he's a very complex character with a lot going on, and does some really cool stuff, as well as, his new suit is very awesome. I won't go into what it does, but it's got some cool stuff going for it, and he's just a really fun character and a great addition to the pantheon of heroes in Marvel movies. Then we got Michael B. Jordan playing Eric Killmonger, which is a weird name, because if your last name's Killmonger, are you really going to go with Eric as your first name? That's like being Leonard Deathstabber. But if you don't know who Michael B. Jordan is, he was the Human Torch in Fantastic. But he was also in Creed as well as Chronicle, and actually I quite enjoy him a lot. Although what happened from him between Chronicle and Black Panther, wow, that's a large man.
Now that is a man who has eaten a lot of beef.
But Michael B. Jordan is fantastic. He's this really dark character, but not without his purposes and his own flaws. He's very spoiler heavy, so I'm going to kind of brush over him, but he basically has a vendetta against the throne of Wakanda and wants to take it down. And not wrong with what he wants to do. I'll get into that in spoilers. But he is definitely a violent character, and very much enjoys killing since Killmonger. But I really liked what Michael B. Jordan did in this. He is fantastic. I really love him as an actor too, and yeah, he just continues to be awesome. Then we have T'Challa's sister Shuri, played by Letitia Wright, who's going to be in Ready Player One later this year, and was in the Black Mirror episode Black Museum. So that's pretty cool. So she is like the inventor or the Q of Black Panther. She has all the gadgets and fun stuff, but she's pretty fun. I really like her a lot. She's incredibly smart, but also like tired of like old traditions and things. And a lot of the comedy comes from her kind of being like, why, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Like, we have flying cars. Why are we still doing this? And I like that a lot. She's does some really fun stuff. I like her. I like her character a lot. And if you didn't know, Shuri eventually does take up the mantle of Black Panther in the comics. So be interesting if they ever go into that. But yeah, I like her a lot. And of course, there's a huge cast in this movie, but I just want to talk about one last one. Is Andy Serkis reprising his role from Age of Ultron as Ulysses Klaue. And he is having just a blast at this. You really get a little bit more of his character than what we got, and he does have some. I just had a lot of fun with him. He's running around laughing and kind of being maniacal and stuff. I really like what he's doing. He's having a lot of fun, so I like that. So what works well about Black Panther? Well, first thing, we have to address the elephant in the room and how Black Panther relates to African culture and African American culture. And yes, I know I'm super duper white. Look at me. Plus, I live in Colorado, and my favorite sports are hockey and lacrosse. Like, I'm ridiculous white. The character from Powder saw me and is like, God damn, you're white. But I'd like to, mention some things anyways, and hopefully I don't offend or, misconstrue some things. But I just want to talk about some things I noticed and would like to bring up. So first off, no, Black Panther isn't the first black superhero movie. We've had quite a few of those, but he is the first African superhero movie, as well as the first black-led superhero movie in this current generation of movies, as well as the first black-led superhero movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes, we have other black heroes in the cinematic universe, but this is the first to be led by a black superhero, and I think that's really cool. But what I really enjoyed about this movie is how much it's seeped in African culture. It's got visuals and cues and themes taken from all sorts of tribes all over Africa. And that's really something awesome, because if one place needs a hero, it's Africa. And I think they really did that well, and I think it could be a handout to some poor African kids that just want to have their own hero, because Africa is a hard place to live in, and it's cool to have a hero that is in your culture. And Africa tends to be ignored in a lot of not only comic books but just in general movies and in life. So it's very cool to get that, and it does tie into the black culture in America. Luke Cage had an entire season dealing with Harlem and problems within Harlem. And this one touches on that as well, but gives it a little bit more of a hopeful vibe to it, and I like that. But they also touch on some very, very heavy subjects, which I didn't expect them to really do. Things like people, appropriating, stealing artifacts from African tribes and putting on display in museums when these tribes, still exist, and maybe they want those back. Things like that, as well as overall subjugation and treatment of black people all across the world, and talks about that and how Black Panther can help them in, but also needing to help his people. It's got a lot of really cool stuff there, and it makes it a very important movie. And I'm really glad now that kids can choose when they're playing superheroes in the park to have the person that looks like you that you would want to be like. I think that's really cool. And, I think we should continue doing it. We haven't really had a lot of Asian ones. We haven't had any Latino ones. Really, when I think about the only Latino character I can think of in the MCU is Ant-Man has what's-his-face in it. But he's not even a superhero. So... I think that's something we should address and go into. So yeah, let me get off my soapbox. But yes, I really enjoyed that, and I think it was handled very well. So the other thing I liked, of course, this is a Marvel movie, so it has some comedy to it, and I think they struck a very good balance between comedy enough to break up tense moments, but not, relying on it too heavily to where it becomes a nuisance. It just came in at random times to kind of break up some scenes and help develop characters and, loosen everything up. But it's not overbearing. And I think they really struck a very good balance there, and I like what they did. And the other thing I really liked is just the overall style of this movie. I talked before in other videos about how the Afrofuturism is a really cool aesthetic that we really haven't seen. And I think they do a lot with that. The way, his weapons work and the writing everywhere and the graffiti on the walls and paintings, and it's just a very different looking movie in a very good way. It still does take place within this Marvel Cinematic Universe, but is different, and I like that. It's giving, I think they're giving directors a little bit more freedom on the style and look of videos, and I really enjoy that. But no movie is perfect. Where does Black Panther fall short? So, without getting too many spoilers, the ending is what a lot of people feared, in that it's very samey. It's another, like Iron Man, another hero fighting a villain that has the same suit and powers that you do. They also did that in Ant-Man, kind of in Doctor Strange. The ending's very samey. We've seen this a lot. There's more to it that I'll get to in spoilers, but it is a little samey. And although I enjoyed Claw a lot, Ulysses Claw, he is kind of brushed aside about a third of the way through the movie, and I felt like they could have used him some more, and I just really enjoyed that character, and he's just like kind of out of the movie now, and it's like, oh. That was disappointing. But my biggest problem comes with this guy right here, Agent Ross. So he is in Captain America Civil War, but the way he works in this movie is, well, I have two problems with him, but basically he is a CIA agent that gets roped up into this whole shenanigan going on. But the problems with him are, one, he seems like an extraneous and kind of boring character. There's not a lot to him. I didn't really want to bring him up in my character piece because of him. He's just kind of there. He's like basically your token white guy. And this cast is 90% black people. He's like your token white. And that was kind of, he just didn't do a lot. And I felt like you could write around him and you could have gotten through this movie completely without him. The other problem is his mannerisms and the way he worked is he's basically playing Agent Coulson. And my main problem with that is we already have an Agent Coulson in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that should have been Coulson. To finally start bridging these gaps between the movies and TV stuff, that should have been Coulson. They really could have worked with the TV people and, developed Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this season to work with, Agent Coulson going to Wakanda and tying this all together, giving us a bit more of a bridge, tying this universe together. But of course, Ike Perlmutter and Kevin Feige are having their pissing contest, so this, universe is just getting far more fragmented, and we're still supposed to pretend that what's going on in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has any bearing on what's going on in the movies. Same with the Netflix stuff. It's all split apart, and I know I constantly complain about this, but it's true. They keep claiming that this is an entire universe, but there's very little ties between any of these things anymore. And you would think some of these things would transfer over, but I guess not. And yeah, he was basically Agent Coulson, and I would have rather seen Agent Coulson be Agent Coulson than this random dude. So yeah, that's a problem. But enough about that. Let's get into some spoilers. So throw up the spoiler sign and jump to this time code here if you want to skip spoilers, because I'm doing some freaking spoilers, baby. So the main thing I want to talk about is the ending in Killmonger's motivation. He is claiming that Wakanda could be helping black people all across the world. Now he wants to go about it a very violent way, but he's not wrong. Wakanda could be using their powers and their, money and technology to help people all around the world. Instead, they're, being this solo nation. And it's definitely builds into that, with great power comes great responsibility. And Black Panther notices this. This isn't just like a thing that the audience notices. Black Panther in the movie knows that he's not necessarily wrong. And it makes for a very strong, interesting ending where it's not like, when Ironmonger died in the first Iron Man, it's this big moral victory and I can stand strong. It was like this very bittersweet moment where he's like, yeah, I get what you're getting at, but you can't go about it this way. And it makes this very bittersweet ending, and I like it. Again, it's very complex for a Marvel movie, and I like that they can do that, and they trust our audience to follow along with that. I think they did a really good job there. I like the ending a lot. And of course it's Marvel, so we got our stingers. So the first one was, Black Panther talking about how Wakanda's going to share their technology with the world. And that, to me, has some very wide open effects, and I think we might see in future Marvel movies the technology jump exponentially. With Wakanda opening up and saying hey, we have flying cars and we got, this power source that works forever and we can do this and do this. I think it should, if they do it correctly, really jump this Marvel world into a big futuristic world. And I like that a lot. It's got some very wide-reaching effects for such a very kind of basic scene. It's very cool. I like that a lot. And the other is Bucky Barnes is unfrozen already in Wakanda and working on his, mental state and things like that. So that means in Infinity War, we don't have to spend time unfreezing him. He's already unfrozen. So that's cool. It was a nice little fun nod. I liked it. Finally, there is no mention of the Soul Stone in Wakanda. I kind of had abandoned this theory, but it was still a theory I had that the Soul Stone was in Wakanda. But this leads more credence to the Soul Stone being with Hamdall. So that'll be interesting, and curious where that goes. But there is no mention of Infinity Stones in this, so curiouser and curiouser. But this review is starting to go long, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. So in the end, Black Panther is fantastic. Possibly one of the best Marvel solo movies. And this Phase 3 solo movies are just great. And I'm really glad that they're giving some more freedom to the directors and touching on some new heroes and doing some really cool stuff, as well as avoiding origins. We didn't have to get a basic origin. They touched on some things, but overall, we know we can just kind of jump in with this character, and I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. And it also has, some very important parts of African and African American culture built into it, and I like that a lot as well. So I'd like to say my final rating on this is going to be see it in theaters. It's definitely worth checking out and is a great addition to the greater cinematic universe. And I can't wait to see it again. It's going to be awesome. So I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, hold on to your hold slots. But this is the first one that is led by a black superhero. Jesus Christ!